My name is Hannah, and this is my no-buy year. So when I started my no-buy year, I made a very clear set of rules. I wanted to make sure that I had anticipated every potential situation that might challenge or push the boundaries of my no-buy and decided in advance what I was and wasn't going to do in any one of those situations. Stuffy is barking. It's not my dog, it's like our neighbor's dog down the way. His name is Stuffy, which is really cute, but that's the only cute thing about him. I mean, his face is pretty cute, but my main experience with him is that he barks when I'm trying to film. Not cute. Anyway, I decided when I wrote my rules what I would do about gifts. I decided that I am allowed to give gifts, so I'm allowed to buy gifts for other people during my no-buy year, and I also decided that I would be allowed to receive gifts during my no-buy year. When I made that rule, I did not, in my wildest dreams, anticipate that I would receive gifts from people with whom I connected through my YouTube channel. I was more just thinking that I didn't want birthdays and other holidays to be super awkward. What I'm talking about in this video are 3 incredibly sweet and generous gift packages that I've received from 3 of you over the past couple of months. I think it was. Tara's package might have been over 2 months ago, but they've all been concentrated kind of towards the end of the year, at least during the second half of the no-buy year. The brunt of this video is just going to be me reviewing a few things from each gift. I really love reviewing things, and so far on my channel, I've only been able to review things with which I started the year. So my empties videos tend to be kind of review paloozas, and I will review things when I shop my stash. As I get to know my own collection better, I'm able to review things better. But with these gifts, I have the opportunity to review things that are new to me, and that's really fun. That's one of the things I appreciate the most about having received these things in the mail, is that it's given me some more fodder for my channel. I am going to review the Natasha Denona Star Palette and the Mini Star Palette. Wendy sent me the Star Palette, her Star Palette, and then Jennifer gave me the Mini Star Palette as a gift, so I have the 2 of them. Many of you have asked for my opinion on those. That will happen about halfway through the video. But before I delve in, I just wanted to briefly touch on the question of gifts like this and the impact that they may or may not be having on my no-buy project. It's something that I've gotten a lot of questions about in the comments, and I actually do think that it's something that it's really important for me to address. If you don't care about this, I will leave a timestamp so that you can skip to the beginning of the meat of the video. That will be down in the description box below, but I'll also try to keep it kind of brief. Did I just say I would keep it brief? LOL. Anyway, the question is essentially, does having all of this new makeup, the stuff that my subscribers have sent to me, water down the project? Is it making my no-buy year less effective? Is it making the no-buy less challenging? And the short answer to that is no. It's not in any way watering down the no-buy, because I am addicted to shopping. I'm not addicted to makeup specifically. My problem is that I am a compulsive shopper, or I would actually say I was a compulsive shopper previous to this year. I feel very changed at this point, but the change has come in my relationship to buying things. So even though some of these gifts are things that I was really coveting, and even though that coveting is a part of the shopping compulsion, it's related to it, it's like a slice of it, receiving these things, being given them as gifts, does not push the same buttons and release the same chemicals as my old compulsive behavior did. If I had bought all of these things in my old life, I would have gotten a rush, and then the rush would have faded, and then I would have felt kind of gross. Kind of like the way I used to feel when I would mindlessly gorge on sugar before I stopped eating sugar. Now, getting them as gifts, it's been a totally different experience. It's kind of like the experience that I have now when I eat like a strawberry or something that has a natural sweetness. Now, since I stopped eating sugar, I can taste other things better, and other things taste better. And that's kind of how I feel about the experience of acquiring these things in a non-shopping way and in such a sweet and lovely way. Getting these gifts has been super intense, super exciting, way more intense and exciting than it used to be to get like a box in the mail of stuff that I ordered from Sephora. a totally different feeling, a totally different beast. So it's been super exciting, but it hasn't been triggering at all. Having new things on my vanity and having received new things doesn't make me want to go out and buy new things. On the contrary, it kind of feels like too much. It kind of feels overwhelming. And that actually leads me to the second and more complicated part of my answer to your questions about these gifts. So these new things have not been a disruption to my initial project. My initial project was to stop buying things. I did stop buying things, and in my initial rules, I was allowed to receive gifts. So this is totally within the rules. No rules have been broken in spirit. No rules have been broken in action. But the no buy has caused me to want less stuff, and my project this year has led me in the direction of a more edited collection. I want more space, I want less stuff, and I want to love everything I have. Those values weren't part of the thrust of my initial project. They are not what define the no buy year, but the no buy year has led me to them. And therefore, these gifts present a little bit of a challenge. Needless to say, I'm more than grateful, stunned, deeply, deeply touched by these three gifts, all three of them. And I wouldn't have it any other way. It's been amazing to connect to these three women in this way. And it's really exciting to have new things to review. But if I add together all of the items from all three boxes, actually 4 boxes, because Jennifer gave me 2 boxes of things, they amount to a significant influx of items into my collection of makeup and skincare. It's a lot of stuff. And so now I have to decide what I'm going to do about that. I have to decide what I want. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm thinking about it. I'm realizing that I have to decide how I'm going to balance what I want with what I want, even after the end of the no buy. And in a way, it's good practice for next year because I anticipate that I might start receiving PR. I might sign up for some of those websites like Octoly and Influencer. I'm not doing that this year. Again, I really love reviewing things, and I am interested in being able to have the review aspect of this channel continue to grow and to be more robust. And it would be nice to be able to review once in a while some things that I didn't already have in my collection. I'm still making a plan. I'm leaning towards regular declutters. I'm leaning towards having a very thorough declutter maybe at the end of every month, during which I go through all of the things that are new in my collection that month and decide whether I want to move them into my permanent collection or move them on. So maybe I'll have like a box where I keep things that are in limbo, and when anything new comes to me that I didn't buy myself, I will put it into the limbo box and it'll stay there for a month or two, and then I'll either move it on to my collection or I'll move it on to a friend or family member. That might be a good way to go about doing that. And in a sense, all of these new makeup items that have been given to me by subscribers are in limbo. I haven't really put any of them away. It's like I'm afraid to, and that's probably why. So maybe I'll go ahead and this is a short review, short. I'm only reviewing a few things from each gift in this video, but maybe at some point in the future I'll do like a reckoning where I decide which things I'll keep and which things I'll pass on. Anyway, I said I didn't have a plan, but look at that, I just kind of came up with a plan. I'll keep thinking about it. That seems like it would work. Let me know what you guys think. I'm hoping that I can figure out a plan that will allow me to receive things like gifts and PR that will contribute to the review aspect of my channel, while still continuing to stay grounded and continuing to remind you guys and to remind myself that you don't have to keep chasing the next best thing to be happy, and that having the next best thing is not what makes you happy. Even if I happen to be receiving one of the things that's being touted as the next best thing on YouTube, I would like to be able to review that thing and talk about that thing, and in the same breath, or at least in the same video, remind you that even if it seems great, it is not where happiness comes from, and you don't need it to be happy. It might be a challenge to keep the balance. It's something I've been thinking a lot about lately, but I think that I can do it. I'm up for the challenge as long as I stay thoughtful and as long as I stick to my new project, the project that I'm going to launch next year, which will be kind of like a different version of this year's project. It won't be the same. You'll find out in January. Anyway, I hope all of that made sense, and I hope I didn't blabber on for too long. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. So I'm going to go in order. I'm going to talk about a few of the things that Tara sent me, a few of the things that Wendy sent me, and a few of the things that Jennifer gave to me. Both Tara and Jennifer included a number of skincare items in the boxes that they gave to me, especially Jennifer. It was a lot of skincare, but most of those things are making their way through to my empties. And I am going to review them in my empties, and when I do review them in my empties, I'll tell you where they came from. So I decided to just stick to makeup for this video. Tara's box was so sweet. She had remembered things that I talked about over the course of the year that I wished I could have. My rules only allow me to buy one of each type of product. So I started out the year with a bunch of mascaras. I had burgundy, I had black, I had brown, I had all this stuff. And I loved the brown mascara that I had. I used it all the time, and then I used black for more dramatic looks. When it got down to the point where I had used up all of my mascara, I could only buy one, and I chose black because even though I used brown more often, black was more necessary. It was the one that I felt I couldn't be without. So that's one of the things that she sent me, a brown mascara. It was so thoughtful. And I had also mentioned that lash primer is something I enjoy, but that I wasn't allowed to buy on my no buy year. It was just excessive, didn't make sense as its whole own category. And she sent me a lash primer too. These are both the L'Oreal Voluminous line. It's not Lash Paradise, it's the original Voluminous. And the brown mascara has a curved brush, so it's the Voluminous curved brush. I absolutely love it. I love it. I find it as good, if not actually better than Lash Paradise, because the one mascara that I chose to buy when I replaced my mascara was Lash Paradise, and I was a little more disappointed in it than I remembered being. I felt like it wasn't really wet enough to get the volume, or it was wet in the way that it kind of caused my lashes to stick together a little bit instead of giving me that really thick paste that I like to paint into my lashes. I really like thick, splinky lashes. I can get that with this, and the primer pairs really beautifully with it. Honestly, I've been so happy with my eyelashes since I received these products from Tara, and they're lasting and lasting because it was a couple of months ago. I really, really like this. I would buy this again. I would actually buy the Voluminous Curved Brush original formula again. I don't know if I will run out of mascara before the end of the year because I keep acquiring samples, and actually Jennifer gave me a full-size black mascara, so I think I'm set for the year. I don't think I'm going to be buying mascara again this year, but if I did, I might buy this one. Tara also sent me, again, incredibly sweet, this large pan. Well, so what it is a normal size pan of blush. It's a NYX blush, high definition blush in the color taupe, and she sent it, I know because I chatted with her about it in an email. She sent it because she remembered me talking about the fact that I regretted not buying a large single pan of kind of a mid-toned taupe eyeshadow before the beginning of my no-buy year, because I felt like I didn't have one that was just right and would serve. And so she sent this to me for use as an eyeshadow. I thought it was an eyeshadow when I opened it, and so I used it as such for several days in a row. Like when it first came, I think I used it for almost a week, just as like a wash of color all over the lid. I was really into red lips at the time, so I was looking for just a basic taupe. I was looking for this, and it was perfect. And I found it a little bit powdery. And what that means for me is that I have kind of watery eyes. With a powdery eye product, if my eyes water, it'll really quickly kind of bleed up onto the powderiness and make a puddle, make a shape. So if you imagine kind of a powder and you drop a drop onto it, the drop really affects the powder. It like soaks it up, it gets in amongst it. Whereas if you put down like a pigment, for example, something really pigmented, and you drop a drop onto it, the water has less of a chance of disturbing the surface, the blend of the pigment. So I find that more intensely pigmented and almost rougher or drier eyeshadows, creamy, dry is such a weird word. There's like the good dry and the dry for me. But creamier, stiffer shadows tend to be more resistant to my watery eyes. Whereas super powdery shadows, like for example, the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette that I have, If my eyes water badly when I'm wearing that palette, it'll mess up my eye look. But if I do an eye look with ColourPop shadows and my eyes water badly, they will hold up better. It doesn't mean that they're better in quality all across the board. They're just better for that particular purpose for me. I do enjoy working with the ABH formula. I just know that it's a little more sensitive. And this kind of reminded me of that. And then when I realized that it was actually marketed as a blush, that helped me understand why. I use it as a blush, but it's very, very cool toned. And what I think that this actually is, for me, is a contour color, and I've never had a contour. I tried it one time and I think it kind of worked. I'm afraid of contouring. Every time I've seen a very pale skinned woman in person who's contoured, she looks like she has a smudge of dirt on her face, and I can't imagine that that's not how I would look. I probably look good on camera facing forward, but not in real life. And you all know I'm really about how one looks in real life. So I haven't been like contouring every day with this, but it's fun to have. It's cool to have like something that works for a contour. And I have reached for it from time to time in its role as an eyeshadow. I just will keep looking after the end of my No Buy year for something to be my like go-to taupe that isn't quite as powdery as this. And it's just that way because it's a blush formula. Here is a really cool thing, another really cool thing that Tara sent. It's called Nano Blur, and it's from Indeed Laboratories. I think it's a Canadian thing. It is basically a skin blurring cream. I'll show it to you. I'm not going to hold the swatch way up because you won't be able to see anything. It's just a white cream that blends out to be clear. But it's not a primer. And in fact, it even said on the box, and Tara also told me in an email, that if you put it under makeup, the makeup will pill. It's intended for touch-ups on top of makeup or on a no makeup day. If you just want, oh, see, it's already like totally dry and smooth. It's really nice. It's really nice. It's intended for just smoothing out areas of your skin that might have pores or fine lines, either on top of makeup or on top of bare skin. And I did go ahead and put it on my forehead today. I sometimes use it when I'm filming and I'm looking particularly wrecked or a little bit oily if it's the end of the day, or if sometimes at the end of the day my forehead lines are a lot more etched, a lot deeper because I've been wrinkling my skin all day making expressions. Sometimes I'll just tap a little bit of that over top, and what it really does is it buffs out those lines on camera with the lights. It really does diffuse the light away from those lines and make them look less apparent on camera. So that's a very useful product for me in particular. I don't find myself reaching for it all that often simply because of its troubled relationship with makeup, but when I want it, now that I have it, when I want it, I'm really glad that I have it and I really enjoy using it, and it really does work. So that was a really cool product. All right, I'm going to move on to talk about, and Tara did send me a bunch of other things, but again, they'll be turning up in my skincare empties. She sent me a pair of kitchen tongs. They are amazing. That's my very short review for the kitchen tongs. I love them. I did a full unboxing of Wendy's gift in my 5 Days of Moondust video. I think a lot of you have already seen that. So if you've seen that, you know everything that was in that video, but I'm just going to talk about the Tarte Chrome paints and the Natasha Denona Star palette. I have been using some of the other things and they're lovely, but I haven't had a chance to use them enough to give a good review because I've been out of town so much. But I have put the Chrome paints pretty much to the test. I have Park Ave Princess, Top Yacht, and Martini. I will swatch all of them for you. So these are great. I'm gonna try to whiz through it. I know this video is getting kind of super long, especially because of the intro. These are great, and I was skeptical because I have hooded eyes and things like this tend to crease on me, especially by the end of the day. And I've really put these to the test. If you layer them up really, really thick, all into the crease, they are kind of prone to creasing. But you really don't need that thick of a layer. It's unbelievable how shiny they are. You really don't need that thick of a layer to get this effect. And in fact, buffing them in, I'll kind of like buff them in with my finger as best I can and then buff out the edges with a brush. makes them this shiny on the lid, and that buffing and spreading and thinning of the product over the eyelid is the thing that makes them less likely to crease over the course of the day. The only thing about these shadows, actually, so the other good thing I wanted to say about them is that they're so shiny. They are so shiny, and I was thinking, like, how much shinier can they be than just really beautiful eyeshadow? There's a lot of really beautiful eyeshadow. I have a lot of really beautiful eyeshadow in my collection. And I was thinking, like, you know, they take up a lot of space. Each one of these takes up so much more space than a single eyeshadow in a single pan. And I have 3 of them now. And that's like a lot of space for me. I have a couple of little drawers for pot type things, but these won't fit in those drawers right now with the other stuff that I have. So I was sort of thinking, like, well, are they worth it? Like, is it worth having a whole big chunky thing like this? What is so special about the effect? And the other day I swatched one of these Natasha Denona shadows. It's this copper one. It's called Atria, and I swatched it. I had just put it on my eyes for the first time, and I was really impressed by how beautiful it looked. And I swatched it next to the chrome paint in Park Ave Princess because they're kind of similar colors. Park Ave Princess is less orange and more bronzy. And I was surprised to see that Park Ave Princess is just more chromy. It really looks like chrome. It looks like a metal paint. And the Natasha Denona shadow looks really, really beautiful, like a beautiful metallic eyeshadow, but it's not quite as shiny. And I'm not saying it's not good. There's a use for both of these things, and I have actually been reaching for this one to create coppery eye looks, but I just think it's worth noting that yes, there is something really special about these chrome paints. There is something about the way they shine and the way they apply to the eye. They feel really, really creamy and really just intense. I think that 3 is a lot, obviously, and I'm not going to say this throughout the whole video. I feel this way about everything. Obviously, I am ecstatic that I'm getting to try all 3 of these, and I do love all 3 of these colors. I'm not saying that I'm ready to declutter 1 or 2 of these because I've actually used all 3 of these chrome paints a number of times, and I like them all a lot. So I don't think that I could bring myself at this point to declutter them. But if you are interested in this product, my advice would be to pick 1. And 1, you will be fine with 1. Pick the one that you really want to shine from your eyes, and then the other colors, the other ones, if you like the other colors, settle for eyeshadows in those colors, because you really don't need 3 chrome paints in 3 different colors. It's a thing that it's really nice, I think, to have 1 of if you need 1 at all. The last thing I wanted to say about them is that they aren't wet, they're dry, they're eyeshadow. They're like loose pigment eyeshadow. I was expecting them to be more painty, more, because they're called chrome paints. I was expecting them to be kind of like a paint texture, almost like a little bit more wet than this, but actually from being jostled around in the package, they arrived all crumbled up in little balls. They really are just a big pot of eyeshadow. It's really all they are, a big pot of really shiny eyeshadow. To me, there's pretty much no difference between this and just a regular, very, very, very shiny eyeshadow in a pan, except for that this pot takes up a huge amount of space and you get a huge amount of product and you have to pay for all of that product. So I kind of wish Tarte had just come out with like singles of extraordinary shiny eyeshadows and given a lot less product per pan and charged a lot less per one. It just feels like a lot of packaging and a lot of product for the same thing that we buy when we buy a single eyeshadow. And I don't doubt that Tarte is profiting from that, and we are losing space in our homes by taking these big chunky things home with us. So I don't entirely approve of that, but I do love the performance of this product. I really, really like these. All right, the moment that everyone has been waiting for. Let's talk about the Star Palette and the Mini Star Palette. So the Star Palette was in the package from Wendy, and then Jennifer, who I got to meet in person. I don't know if I've really told the story, but she was going to be in LA. She had contacted me and we almost didn't manage to meet because it was the day that I was flying. There's a helicopter or something. It was the day that I was flying to Portland. But we worked out the timing. We had a very short coffee, but it was really so special. She's the first subscriber I've ever met in person who isn't someone that I knew before YouTube. And it was just amazing to be able to give her a hug and look into her eyes and talk and hear her story and connect. So yeah. So Jennifer gave me 2 boxes with a number of really lovely things, a lot of beautiful sample sizes of skincare, which were very useful because I was about to start traveling, and some hair care stuff, which was really exciting. And she also had bought the Natasha Denona mini star palette for me because she had heard me talking about it on the channel, and that was really exciting. I had already received this from Wendy, and I did say to Jennifer, I was like, listen, I now own the star palette because someone sent it to me. I encouraged her to either keep this for herself or return it, and she was like, no, I really want you to have it. And she said, and you can talk about it on your channel and review it and talk about whether it's the same as the big one. And I was like, you're right. Thanks. I am not going to give a super in-depth thorough review of the star palette right now because I think I am going to film a 5 days of star palette sometime soon, and I'll review it then. What I am going to do is talk about whether these are the same. I haven't watched any of the reviews. I've seen a number of them popping up, like they're not the same. Like I've seen the thumbnails and stuff and I was like, whatever, and I didn't watch them. But the other day I went through and swatched, and you guys, they're not the same. They're not. It's shocking. This is very beautiful. I took this to Portland and I used a bunch of these shadows, and I love these as I love Natasha Denona eyeshadows now that I've gotten a chance to use them. They are Natasha Denona eyeshadows. They perform beautifully, but the shades in here that claim to be the shades in here are just not the same. So I'm going to go through and swatch for you. I am not going to be giving obviously the most thorough review under the sun because I don't have the setup for that with like the perfect lighting and stuff, but I will tell you and I will do my best to show you. So the first one in here is Orion, which is the green blue pigment. Oh, and you know what I'll do? I'll also swatch Lounge. One of you asked me to do that. So this is it's like the blue brown pigment that's very famous from MAC, and Lounge is the Urban Decay version. That's one of my all-time favorite shadows, but this is more green. It's like a green brown pigment. It's very beautiful. That is the one from the mini palette, and I'm reaching down with my other finger to the star palette, which is here, and that is the one from the star palette. The one from the mini palette, which is the one on top, just looks like it has more of the brown underlying it. It's a burgundy kind of brown. And the one from the large size palette looks more green. It looks a little bit more murky and grungy. They both are gorgeous. I would not say no to either of them. I would definitely not say no to this one here on top, but they have swatched differently on my hand, and I think that they're different enough that they would perform ever so slightly differently on the eyes. Namely, if you were trying to build up this really intense green, it would take longer to build it up using the mini palette, and you would get more burgundy, more brown when you started buffing it out. One thing I didn't say is that I don't know when Wendy bought the full-size star palette, and I know that the Natasha Denona shadows are supposed to have a shelf life, so it could be that the palette has changed over time, but I can't imagine that it's changed this much, so much as to have the colors really change, but it could. I just wanted to throw that out there as a caveat. I'm going to go ahead and swatch Lounge so you can see the difference. They look the same. They really look the same on there. So Lounge and the version of Orion that's in the mini star palette look almost exactly the same, whereas the version of Orion that's in the full-size Natasha Denona palette looks greener and grungier and swampier and just different. It's really different. I don't feel like I have dupes here from the large size star palette to Urban Decay Lounge. I do feel like I kind of have a dupe here with the mini palette with Lounge. So the next one in the row here is Attique. It's this kind of warm sienna transition shade. This is the kind of color that most people use as a transition, but it looks really, really orange on me because I'm so pale. So to me, it's not really a transition shade. There it is right there. And now with my next finger, I'm dipping into the one in the full-size Star palette. It's darker, the full-sized one, and it's a little bit less pink. Now, when I first got the sense that people were saying that the formula was different in the mini palette, I thought to myself, well, it's probably just pressed harder because of the size of the pan and because of the fact that it's designed to be ideal for travel. They probably just pressed it a little bit harder, so people are picking a little bit less up on their fingers or on their brushes when they're swatching it, and it's probably just that. That might be what's going on here. That might be a good enough excuse for the difference between these two, but the colors really look different. The color, the tone of the color really looks different. I just can't imagine that it's the exact same blend of pigments in the two of these. The difference in tone it's subtle, you know, they're both kind of the same general color, but it is unmistakable. To be clear, the one in the larger Star palette it's darker, and the one in here is just a little bit lighter and sandier. It's a beautiful shadow. It's really creamy and lovely, performs gorgeously. It's just not exactly the same color as the one in the full size. All right, let's move on to, this is the one that flabbergasted me the most. This is being called Bellatrix, and here is the one from the mini. And then here's Bellatrix from the full size. They're totally different. Totally different. And when I first swatched them next to each other, I thought, oh no, there must be some mistake. And I thought that Wendy must have accidentally switched Bellatrix with Polaris in the palette before she sent it, because here's Bellatrix up here. It's more of a pink champagne-y color, as you saw on my arm, and here's Polaris down here, and it's a little bit more yellow toned. It's a little bit more what we would call a nude. I don't know how well you can see the difference, but there they are. So then I went ahead and swatched Polaris, also thinking that maybe it would be the one that would be a match for the Bellatrix from the mini palette, but it's not. It's maybe a little more similar, but no. The Bellatrix from my mini Natasha Denona Star palette is a peach shimmer. It is incredibly beautiful. It is really shiny. It has the same metallic finish as the other two. It has the same texture. It's just as soft. It's just as well performing. I have used it. Again, I wouldn't say no to it. I think it's a gorgeous shadow, but it's definitely not the same as the one from the original. It's the one that's the most different from its namesake. So here we have Earth from the mini palette and Earth from, it's so beautiful. They're both beautiful. And again, texture-wise, I have no complaints. I think texture-wise, the mini is gorgeous. So there's Earth and Earth. The one in the mini is just a little bit more warm, as you can see. This swatch on top isn't quite as robust, but that's not because of the quality of the shadows. That's just, you know, sometimes you swatch well and sometimes you don't. Also, I was able to pick up a little bit less on my finger because it was smaller, but ignore the fact that the swatch tapers off. I could just feel why that was happening. They perform the same, but the color is different. And here we have Cosmo from the mini palette and Cosmo from the bigger palette. I'm gonna do these on the inside of my wrist. So there's Cosmo the mini, and there's Cosmo from the full size. These two I feel are very, very similar. They aren't exactly the same. It almost feels like the full-size Cosmo has a little bit more, it feels like they've been pressed slightly differently. It feels like they're the exact same formulation, exact same color, and that they've been pressed ever so slightly differently. And in my experience, they wear the same on the eyes because both of them give me a bit of that old gold color, but most of what they do is to distribute really beautiful shimmery crystals up onto my lid and to kind of give that sophisticated glow throughout the day. So I found these to both perform admirably. I feel like the full-sized one could be called a little bit darker. It might have even a little bit more green in it, but really it's mincing. I mean, it's really not an issue. I feel like this shadow is maybe the least. Earth, it's not that big of a deal. They're just a little bit different in undertone, but the other three, I do feel like you're getting a different eyeshadow. Same quality, but different colors. That said, the colors aren't bad, and they're not so different from the vibe of the original palette. In fact, they're not different from the vibes of the original palette at all. And you all know how I feel about vibes. Vibes are everything when it comes to eyeshadow. You can get the same looks that you would get with these 5 shadows in the original palette with this, with the exception maybe of a really, really bright highlighting shade, because Bellatrix from this palette isn't a highlighting shade on a lot of people in the same way that Bellatrix and Polaris and the full-size one are. So if that's gonna make or break it for you, then it's good to know that you're getting like a peach shimmer. If you, like I have always coveted the Star palette, if you can't afford to buy the full size or you think it's just ridiculously expensive, if you want to try Natasha Denona shadows, you want to try the formulas, and you think that the colors in the full-size Star palette are beautiful and you think that they would suit you, then this will be perfect for you. And it's not a big deal that they're slightly different. It's a little weird. It makes me wonder what's going on in the Natasha Denona factory. Maybe makes me want to tread kind of cautiously in the future when purchasing from her, but I'm not mad at it. I don't see who could be. It's amazing. It's exciting to me to have slightly different eyeshadows. I mean, the Bellatrix in here is a Natasha Denona eyeshadow that I did not have before. It's a little bit ridiculous because, you know, it's the mini version of the big one. I kind of feel like I just have a little tiny dupe. And again, it's something I'm gonna have to think about. Like, do I want both of these in my collection? Do I want this much space to be taken up by something that's kind of twins in a way? For now, it's really delightful to have this and to be able to keep playing with it. And it makes me think of Jennifer and the time that we met. So I am indulging for a little while in having both of these items, and we'll see what happens in the future. And lastly, I want to just talk about 3 lip products that were in the box that Jennifer gave to me. She says she doesn't wear lip products really very often, and she had a bunch of deluxe sample sizes and some full sizes of lip products. There were a number of those in the box, and that's really fun. This one is the Burberry Kisses Hydrating Lip Color in the color Russet. And I'm gonna swatch on this arm because even though I wiped all that eyeshadow off, it's still kind of haunting me. I kind of built up the swatch. This is what it looks like on the lips, but it's a semi-sheer, hydrating, balmy formula, and I really love the color. I don't really like having this little deluxe size sample. If you saw my Declutter Into a Box, I think it was, you heard me talk about the fact that I don't like bullet lipsticks in deluxe size samples, but I've realized that what I don't like are the style of deluxe size sample where the bullet is tiny like this. Because I have, where is it? This is a deluxe size sample of a lip product that I'm currently obsessed with, and it's the Bobbi Brown Crushed Lip Color. And the bullet, it's small, it's not a full-size lipstick, but it's because it's short, not because it's miniature. The bullet, it might not be the full size, but it's pretty big, and I feel like I can kind of go at it when I'm putting it on. This little style, every time I roll it up, I feel like it's gonna break because it's like a third of the size width-wise of a regular lipstick, and it just doesn't feel very pleasant to use it. I'm like worried, and it's always wiggling around in there. And I've decluttered some deluxe size samples of bullet lipsticks because they had this format. I'm not ready to declutter this one because I love the color. It's like a russet, and the formula is really nice. It doesn't wear very long. It's something that I definitely have to reapply partway through the day if I want it to stay. But for now, I'm gonna keep making use of it because I really like the color. I'm finding myself reaching for it, and it is really comfortable on the lips. It's sweet. It's a nice product. It's a nice color. I'm not ecstatic about it. For example, this deluxe size sample, after I had worn it once or twice, I went online and I immediately added a bunch of these to my wish list because this is the formula, the Bobbi Brown Crushed Lip Color, that I am ecstatic about. I think it's phenomenal. And this, I'm more just like glad that I have this one. I'm glad that I have this to wear right now. I'm not sure I would buy it the full size once I ran out, but I'm really enjoying using this one. This is the YSL Lip Vinyl in the color 401, which is like their first color, the main red. This is what I had on my lips in the video that I posted on Wednesday. And I'm not sure that the sample will do it justice. You should go look at me in the video. Yeah, there's no way I can get a swatch of this that looks the way that it looks. Why did I swatch it over there? I'm so bad at this. So you can see the color in the swatch, but you can't see how incredibly rich and shiny it is. It's an amazing formula. You can see how rich and shiny it looks if you click on Wednesday's video. I'll put it in the cards or something. It's like wet paint. It's like wet lacquer. I mean, it's really, really beautiful. But then it gets sort of a film on top such that it doesn't really transfer. Like if you drink out of a glass, a little bit, a patch or two might come off, but it doesn't make a full impression on the glass the way that most wet look lip products do. There's something really, really well designed about the formula of this. And when I first put it on just to test, I lost my mind. I was like, it was at night, it was makeup playtime, and I put it on and I didn't want to take it off. I had to go to bed, so I had to take it off, but I was just like, this is stunning. It's like shiny, dripping, plump, juicy vinyl cream lips. So then I wore it, I think the next day. I wore it a couple times, and then I wore it in that video. And when I was watching the video, I was like, it looks a little mature on me. And it might have been what I was wearing and the rest of my makeup that day. It might have been the whole effect. But I just felt that it didn't look as fresh as some of the other red lips that I enjoy. But you guys will have to let me know what you think. I know one or two of you really liked the way that looked in that video. I will keep wearing it. I think I will probably use up this little deluxe size sample. It's the same situation. I'm really glad that I have this one. I'm not sure I would rush right out and buy the full size, although maybe in more of a nude color. We'll see. If this sounds like the kind of look that you like, this is a very good product with which to achieve it. And lastly, the Trish McEvoy Essential Pencil in 1, which is called Nude. This is what I have on my lips today. It's very, very dark for it's not my nude. It's on me, it's like a mauve. But that's great. I mean, as we know, nude is a word that means about 1,000 different colors. So I think this is very, very pretty. I really like the formula as well. It's creamy, it's very pigmented, but easy to control. I put it on the other day and it was pretty much on all day. I reapplied it because I wanted to later in the afternoon, but it felt like it was really gonna be there, and you can see how it looks on me. It's a little vampier on me than it would be on most people. And that's just how it is for me with things. Often things called nude on me are like a berry, or at least they give the effect that a berry colored lipstick gives on a lot of people. But there's something about it. There's something about the balance of undertones that I really like. Trish McEvoy, I think, is like an expensive brand. It's not a brand I've really ever gotten that into. This doesn't exactly make me want to go out and buy stuff from the brand, but it does make me rethink this color, which is the kind of color that I would usually pass over because I wouldn't consider it to be distinctive enough. I always kind of look for drama, look for a statement lip when I'm shopping for any kind of lip product. This is not that, but I have been very drawn to it. It's the one that I've worn the most out of the 3 that I have just shared with you. And that is it. Those are a few reviews of a few of the products that I have been lucky enough to receive as gifts over the past couple of months during my no-buy year. Tara, Wendy, Jennifer, thank you so much for making this video possible. It's really exciting to have tried out some new makeup and to be able to review it for everyone else. It also gives me an opportunity to think about what I'm going to do next year on my channel if and when I start to receive PR, and to talk a little bit about my thought process with regards to those things. So thank you all so much for supporting me in this project. Sadie came to say goodbye. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you will remember to take extra good care of yourself this week so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.